Hello.
Hi, Rhea.
Hi, Apoorva.
Did we just start a pod?
Yeah, dude, I think we did.
All right, you guys, welcome back to After 21. What a frantic, manic planning episode this has been. Not to start off on the wrong note, but Rhea is literally in the airport right now as she's boarding her flight, and we're trying to squeeze this in right before she leaves. And as you know, every month we've got one guest episode, but this month we've got not only two guest episodes, but four guests. And not that we're already tackling with two different time zones, India and America. We're also adding in a third time zone. Enter the UK. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're introducing you to the fourth and the most exciting episode we're about to shoot, which is Modern Day Relationships featuring our girlfriends. Welcome, Mehal. Welcome, Pranali. We're super excited to have you here.
Hi.
I'm just going to quickly introduce Mehal because Mehal's one of my good friends from back home. Mehal is currently in the UK and she's pursuing her PhD. Mehal, why don't you go ahead and quickly introduce yourself?
So, hello everyone listening. I'm Mehal and I'm currently living in London doing my PhD in optometry and vision science. And I've known Apoorva for like a good 10-11 years now. So we've done this podcast without the mic and the camera several times. So
Yes.
Happy to be here.
I'm excited to introduce Pranali. Pranali and I went to Drexel together with Apoorva. We always met in school, but I go Dragons. But ironically, I think Pranali and I got closer after leaving college. I don't know, just one of those things that kind of happens. In school, you're all like busy and you have different lives. But after school, I think we realized we have a lot of similar interests. So just kept more in touch with each other, even though she's halfway across the world. But yeah, Pranali, I'll let you take it away.
Hi guys, I'm Pranali. Sorry if I'm nervous. This is my first podcast.
I
also
much
live in
allowed
London.
to be nervous.
I also live in London. I work in influencer marketing and I also freelance in social media management. I also went to Drexel for my undergrad and I'm originally from Bombay.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, guys, I'm gonna hit the ground running and ask you the most important question for the evening. We'll start with Pranali. But no hesitations, just shoot your shot. What's your relationship status? Are you single? Is it complicated? What's the tea? Spill it. Thank you very much.
I'm so far from being single. I'm in a relationship, very much. We're living with my boyfriend in London. We just got a puppy. So very much like building our lives. Yeah, it's great. We've been together for like 2-ish, maybe 3 years. I really don't know. It was a bit hazy at the start, but he also did an exchange program at Drexel, which is kind of how I know him. It's complicated, but it's kind of how I know him. And yeah, we live together in London, so not single.
Love that. May, do you want to take it
not
away?
to mention, this is going to be really important for the podcast. I am Indian and he is Black.
Hell yeah. That is breaking boundaries there already.
Yeah, it really is.
May, go ahead. Take the wheel, girl.
So my relationship status is exactly the opposite of Pranali's. I am very single currently, at least at the time this podcast was getting recorded. But yeah, so it's like I don't really have much to say though. I'm single.
But all right, guys, I'm gonna ask you the first question that we've always wanted to ask with digital media and modern day dating. But Pranali, I know you're taken, but pre-dating someone, did you, or both of you actually, this question's to the both of you, but are you a fan of dating apps? What's the scene? Tell us how you feel about the dating world and the dating app situation.
I'm a big fan. I'm just going to say, I obviously was on a lot of dating apps before. I do think apps like change a lot. I think obviously when I was a freshman, Tinder was the shit, but Tinder is not the shit right now. I do believe that like in this day and age, truly like I wouldn't even bat an eye if someone said, oh, we met on Hinge, you know. I don't think it's a big deal at all. In fact, I think it's great because I think it gives you so much more like control over like who you're picking. Like I do think it's great to meet someone organically, don't get me wrong, but I do think it's nice if you are serious and you're looking for something to like go on an app and like quite literally swipe left to someone you're not interested in, as opposed to like a creep hitting on you in a bar and like having to say no. I do think they're great. And I also think working from home and stuff, it's really hard to meet people. So yeah, I'm a fan.
I have a question kind of to challenge you on this. So, or I don't know if challenge is the right word, but you met your boyfriend organically. Do you think that there's like a difference in terms of maybe like whether it's like having a spark or like being able to make a different connection in the people you meet through a dating app versus someone you met organically?
I think kind of yes, because I think it takes away from that initial like our eyes locked and oh my god, he's so hot thing. But I do think that like it kind of matters based on preference. For me personally, I was never like someone that needed to look at someone and have like, you know, like music to my ears. I'm more.
You didn't
like
need the Bollywood moment.
No, like honestly, I actually kind of preferred how we met organically, but he did slide into my DMs after that, and like if he hadn't, I don't think we would be where we are now. So it was kind of a mix, but I don't personally like think that it matters that much.
I have a really mixed opinion about dating apps. Like, I totally agree with Pranali on the advantages, like, you know, the pros that you don't really, it's better than meeting a creep at the bar. And, you know, like, you know, both of you like something. And, you know, after that, you'll have a developed a conversation. And, you know that you both like something that you both will enjoy and can do something like that. But I also feel that it doesn't really, it's a hit and miss, firstly. Like one reason why I don't really think that it's probably not the best, or like for some, is like because it's a hit and miss. Like people are really different when they text and when you meet them. Like,
hell yeah.
I'm telling this from experience. Like I've seen like, like trust me when I say this. So it's like people portray themselves on these apps in a different way than whom they are, which is like it's acceptable because that's the image they think of themselves. So that's what they want us to see, but the reality is far from it, right? So I think that is one reason why I think that dating apps may not, like, it is good, but it's not the best. And another reason why I feel that it's also a little it's not the best is because it's like it doesn't feel very organic sometimes, unless you're really lucky. Like sometimes like I still am a fan of, you know, meeting somebody from like, not like meeting somebody and then, you know, realizing that, okay, like you're meeting them for the first time and then sparks fly. Like it sounds very Bollywoody and it sounds like very optimistic, but like, you know, it happens very rarely, but you know, like that sort of connection is something like, you know, you see in movies and stuff. So I think it's like it's a thing to be fantasize about. But yeah, but I also agree on the pros. Like it's the easiest and the fastest way to meet somebody that you could potentially have a connection with, especially when you live in a big city like London, where everybody's busy with their own lives and nobody really has time to, like, after a point of time, you have met all your friends as well, you know? Like who else will they introduce you to now? So there's only little they can do. And it's like, so this is like the easiest and the, you know, most convenient way to actually meet somebody.
It's also a really good point you made that, like, I didn't think about that people talk differently and act differently, because I remember like back in college, like I'm like to think that I'm pretty good on dating apps. And like a lot of my like roommates or like friends would be like, oh, like, what do I reply to this guy? And I would always say it as what I would say. And then after a while, I was like, you know, you're being so flirtatious, but you are not actually like that.
Yeah.
So like, it's probably going to give him the wrong impression when you meet him. So I do think that, like, yeah, I didn't think about that. Like, people are very different.
And it's actually very easy to flirt on text. Like, actually very easy to flirt.
Yeah.
And then
you
realize,
take your time.
I also love that you brought up how like people can be different in person, because I don't know if you guys have like watched it yet, but the new Netflix documentary about the Tinder swindler, like that kind of stuff scares me about dating apps. Whereas I guess like you can still meet a creep at the bar, but you almost vet them out. Like you get that creepy vibe, whereas you can't vibe check someone on a dating app.
That's so true. So true.
You know, one thing I actually want to ask you guys this question, but I think this example is a perfect segue, because when I started, you know, looking at dating apps in India, the first thing I told Mehal about this too was they all lie about their heights. Okay. I'm about 5'10" or 5'11". So I'm a tall girl. Okay. So I get it. It's damn hard to find guys my height, but you don't have to lie about your bloody height. Being said, guys, I actually have a question to both of you, because both of you have moved across the globe. Pranali, you moved from Bombay to Philly to London. Mehal, you went from Chennai to London. What are like some of the cultural differences you see within these apps? It's very interesting for me, as I've moved continents and Rhea's moved different cities within the US as well. So we always talk about how the culture and the interaction and the guys are, the way they put themselves out is super different. So I think both of us are super curious to know if you've noted any differences.
So many. There's definitely, I don't like, let me start by saying I don't have a type. Okay. I'm like open to anything, any color, any size, like I don't care. I just need to vibe with the person. And I will say that like, I'm from Bombay. There's a very certain kind of species of Indian men in Bombay. I don't know if you guys have ever interacted with them, but it's a species that I don't want to really be associated with. It's just a very like privileged, like full of yourself. Of course, not everyone,
you said that.
For the most part, like the people I've met. And then in Philly, I found I was at first always like going for brown guys, because that's what I was always like open to and attracted to, because I didn't have much to compare it to. And I found that the Indian guys in America are very different from the Indian guys in Bombay, in that I feel like Indian guys in America have, because I'm from Bombay, they think that they're just automatically like one step above me. And that was just like something that I can't understand, like why you think that has like, it was just like an attitude. It was like a hierarchy that they would just place there, like they're better than me because they're from America and I'm not. And it was a lot of like, definitely I had people my first, second year, like mocking my accent and things like that, that I just don't fuck with people like that. And then I find that in Europe, guys are way more straightforward. It depends, of course, what you like. If you like that, that's great. But I do think they're like way more straightforward here. Like even an Indian guy is 10 times more straightforward here than in like India or America. I like it's a very different experience. Like there's no hesitation. They'll just come up to you and like ask you out.
Dude, I definitely can see the Indian guys in the US are definitely a breed of their own, and they have almost like sub breeds within like the breed itself. You have like your typical guy who is probably like a frat guy that you can just like look at them and you can tell exactly like what they like, what type of music they listen to. It's like having like a starter kit for them, and they're all almost like a very cookie cutter, which I think is kind of scary when you're trying to date people, because you don't want to just serial date cookie cutter people. But I love that you brought that up. And I'm also kind of jealous that people are more straightforward in Europe, because I would rather someone be straightforward, because that's how I am.
One like major difference that I felt was that people here are a little more adventurous and a little more tolerant. And one thing that one big advantage one also is that people are more diverse here. Like since I'm from Chennai, it's like India is very diverse in itself, but here we see like a little more global diversity.
Yes.
So this is one thing that, you know, is like, I mean, this is one big difference that I noticed. Like, you know, you can get, this is a good chance for us to explore and find out more about different cultures and meet different people and without any hesitation. So it's like, that's one really cool thing about dating here than back in India. And also I felt that I agree with Pranali when she said that people are more straightforward here. Like, and I like it. like it's better here than it was back then. And yeah, I think that's about it.
I love that both of you are definitely people who have like actually tried dating. Like I know Pranali's like, oh, I've been in the relationship, but you've like fully put yourself out there and you have experience in terms of like dating apps and talking to different guys.
Let me tell you, I have, and also like beyond Indians, of course, as well.
So I
100%.
feel like that's a very it's like definitely a scary thing, especially when you're putting yourself out there and you can get like rejection. Maybe you're putting yourself out there, and if it works out, you don't know what your parents are going to think. How do you guys deal with the whole parental aspect when it comes to dating? And also, how do you like just keep putting yourself out there?
I'm a very like closed off, like shy person in front of my parents. Not actually just in front of my parents, in general. But I, from childhood, have never like told them about a relationship unless I thought it was like a very serious relationship. Because the way I think of it is, why would I sit here and tell my mom about like a date that I'm going on that might not work out, and like have her be like, okay, how was the date? Like have her be invested. I kind of just never told her about anyone until I thought it was like actually worth telling her about. So like the only two she knows about is like my high school relationship that lasted pretty long, and like then here Jordan now. But I guess I avoid it in a sense. I don't involve them. I just think it's a waste of time to constantly like tell them about like little experiences I have. It's just a personal thing. I know people do it, and I know like a lot of people like to chat with their moms about that stuff, but I do feel like at the end of the day, my mom is Indian, and she does have like some aspect of like, why didn't that work out? Like what happened? Yeah. Like I just don't want to sit and answer those questions. So yeah, I just avoid it.
Well, you know what? I think your family dynamic, not just to an Indian, no, I mean, like I want to bring this out because it's not just to an Indian family, to I think like even like if you're from another culture outside of India as well, this is pretty unique, where your parents are pretty open about and happy with whatever you are experiencing as a young adult. But I think to kind of think back in terms of an average Indian, right? Like how do you even have this conversation with your parents? I mean, I want to ask you about it because we've had conversations about this too. So like, how do you manage your parental expectations of finding a partner?
Firstly, I don't. Because if I would have found somebody right now. So I don't. And secondly, it's like, I second Pranali when she said that you don't really tell her the small details, like because then they get too invested, and then you don't want them, asking, now what happened? Why did this work? Why did that work? So you don't really want to have those conversations all the time. But I think that more than my parents having expectations regarding this, I have expectations. Like, so I think I am hard on myself and the people around me when I'm dating. Like, I am picky. So, like, to reach that filter where my mom's, like, I have to think of what my parents or my family will think is already a big achievement. Like, is like I'm already quite far. So because I have like a very like big filter, so for me it's not been that tough yet. But you don't really like, for me, I'm blessed with a family that is relatively chill, like, and like, I mean, like, they're very comfortable with like the idea that I will date and I will meet people, and they don't really impose any idea of the traditional Indian arranged marriage on me or anything of that sort. So, which is still common in India. We can talk about, finding love outside, but like the traditional Indian marriage is the way to go. It's still the way to go in most families. So, like, for me, they're like, as long as, I mean, they trust my judgment that way. That I'm happy about.
No, I think I like one of the like big takeaways I hear, which honestly I do this myself too, where it's like at the end of the day, Indian parents are, no matter how open they are, like I also come from a very open family, there's always that like one part that like wants to know and like doesn't judge, but like will ask you, well, what did you do? Did something happen? Or whatever it is. And so I almost feel like sometimes the less you give them, the less stress that you are putting on yourself. So completely in agreement with like the takeaway of almost like you manage your narrative.
100%. I tread very lightly. Even when I had to tell my mom about Jordan, it was very like, I pick and chose a time that she was in a good mood. I pick and chose the way I said it, the way I had her tell my dad. Like, you have to like tread carefully, you know? It is what it is.
It's like there's so much newness that comes with dealing with Indian parents, because they're already like, as they're raising you as a child, they're so used to a certain set of morals that they were raised with. And then they have this like classic Gen Z millennial kid that's like, hey, mom, I am not going to come home tonight. Yeah. I'm going to spend time with this someone that you don't have to know about.
Now that you've spoken so much from our perspective, I think the parents also deserve some credit. Like 100%. They are also trying to adapt to our lifestyle, because the way my mom describes her youth is very different from what we are right now, and the way that she's become more accepting to what we do, and you know, they're trying to at least learn our way of life. I think they deserve some credit for that.
They do. Yeah, 100%.
I feel like obviously like when there's hesitation with parents, but I think there's also hesitation within our generation, just being like, one, you have to be the scary one to take the step to do it. Two, like there's still a lot of learning involved in that, like learning someone else's families and cultures. I would love to just kind of hear what everyone's perspective is about it, because I myself have gone like back and forth just based off like how I want my life to go.
For me personally, like speaking through experience, I have dated like white guys. I've dated Indians. I've obviously now with a black guy. It's totally a personal preference. I actually enjoy that aspect of the relationship where like I can teach you things and you can teach me things. I think it keeps my relationship way more exciting and way more like fun. And like it's so much more fun to like show someone your culture from scratch who has no idea. But on the other hand, like my roommate, for example, is like in the pit of her like dating life and like really wants an Indian guy because she can't be asked to like explain her all these things. And I totally get that as well. I totally understand that you'd rather have someone on the same wavelength as you. But I do think that for me, like you can be on the same wavelength in every other aspect, but you don't have to be born and raised in Bombay and be like Indian, because I think with Jordan, it's so much more fun for me to be like, one day we're going to go to India and I'm going to show you all this stuff. So I do think it's definitely brings a different like tone to the relationship.
Awesome. What about you, Meha?
I don't really have a lot of, to say over here, because I think it's exciting. Like, you know, you get to teach somebody like, you know, what you know, and it's your point of view that they'll know. Like, you know, they don't really have any idea about what it is, or, you know, it's your point of view that they'll have to know first. But there are two sides to it, right? Like when I think of dating an Indian guy, okay, one thing is that like I won't have to explain my pop culture references like to him. So that is easy. Like in some way, like, you know, they'll still be able to understand kuch hota hai, kafi khushi kam no. But that's, like it's not a big deal, but you know, all these small things, like, so yeah, that is one thing. But it is nice. I like the idea of knowing new cultures through this. Yeah.
I love that you brought up the pop culture reference, because one of my really good friends is actually dating a white guy. And they've definitely gone through their ups and downs, but she's like very Indian. And he's obviously not, but like he will sit and watch Bollywood movies with her and like us. Like I think when we're at like a party and he's like, "Oh, have you seen this new movie?" And I was like, "Hello, what? No, I haven't. I didn't even know it came out."
So I'm gonna segue into like a little bit more of a harder core question. So don't come at me, but this is something with regards to do with personal timelines versus society's expectations of a timeline. Just because as women, we have, wherever you live in, there's like unsaid expectations of a timeline, and you know, women can't get married before this versus you got to get pregnant. If you just automatically assume that women want to get pregnant, you know, so there's all of these things that are unsaid. So I want to know if you have any personal timelines. If not, your parents might have timelines for you. So how do you cope with this, and how do you have a strategy to approach these things? Let us know, please.
First of all, thank you for the apology before this question. It was needed. No, I'm kidding. I think that like growing up, it was like my mom would always say like you should have kids before you're 30. Like I had kids young. Like she didn't have kids young, first of all. I don't know what she's talking about. Like I'm pretty sure she had me at like 31. So not young, but like she thinks that she had kids at a very good time, that she wasn't like too old, which I think there's so many pros to that. But I do think that like everyone's life is different, and the expect it, like I feel like I've grown up with that like in the back of my mind, like, oh shit, like I have to have a boyfriend at this age so that I can get to know him for the next 4 years, maybe live with him, and then get engaged and then get married and then have kids before I'm 30. And like I feel like I've spent a lot of my adult life unlearning that, or like telling myself that it's okay, like it's fine, I am in a good place, but it's okay if I wasn't in this place. And I do think that my parents have some kind of expectation, but I don't necessarily think that they would put a lot of pressure on me. It's more like it more comes from places that it doesn't need to come. Like my grandmother, for example, will be like, I'm getting old, like why aren't you giving me a grandkid? And we're 4 grandkids, like none of us, like I can't stress you how much we're all like not even close to being in that place. And she'll say things like, okay, but just one of you get married, just one of you have a grandkid, like I just want to see one before I die. And I'm like, I get it, but like no.
I get it, so, but I don't get it.
Yeah, like it's kind of like I feel bad for you, but that's not like I got a dog, is that not enough? But like this like timeline still kind of like hovers around me in a sense, but it's not really that much pressure. But it feels like deep down sometimes it kind of comes out when I see like a lot of my friends have got engaged recently, and I'm just like, sorry, what? Like so many of my friends have gotten engaged, and I was talking to my mom the other day, and I was
like, oh my god,
XYZ got engaged, and then she was like, are you thinking about it? And I was like, no. And she was like, you better not, you have so much left to do. And I was like, thank you for saying that, like thank you so much for saying that. But then every now and then it'll kind of come out from like another member in the family, and I'm just like, I think it's really important to have your parents by your side, and everyone else can buzz off. And I think like it timelines just do not matter. That's just me. My life, in my life, it doesn't matter. Sorry, it might matter for someone else, is what I mean.
I really like what you said about it hovering around you, because I think that's probably something a lot of us struggle with, where like we're so progressive, we're chasing after what we want, like we're all trying to unlearn what we thought we'd had from childhood and like keep going, but you still like feel it sometimes. It's like there, I'll sit here, like I'll sit here and be like, I don't want to date anyone, but also around me I'm like, but I kind of want to get married before I'm 30, because like you were told at some point in time that you should.
Like I'd be lying if I said I didn't set up timelines in my head, like not from a society perspective or not from a parental pressure perspective, but like you said, like from our childhood we've been like, it's ingrained in us somehow that, oh, you have to do so and so by so and so time. So I'd be lying if I didn't have it. But then I realized that I have to, like there's only little you can control, right? Like after a point of time you can have as many timelines and plan as many milestones you want, but it will not happen just by you thinking that it will happen. It's not like a code or anything that you can write and you can pass. So there's some things that you have to leave to destiny, and I think I'm coming to terms with it. Like there's only little I can control there, so I'm cool with that now. And regarding the family pressure and parental pressure, I think like I play around. Like if they are, if I feel that somebody's telling me that, oh, it's time to get married and everything, so I play around the joke, and I make sure that they don't really ask me that again, because then I like and then I get really serious about it, and then I pretend that I'm serious, and then I say something really awful, like I tell them, oh, I do this, and I give them reasons of why I'm not a good daughter-in-law for them or anything like that, and like be the most unsuitable bride I can be. So
I like that.
Like I have my ways, and those people who actually are concerned about me getting married because I'm like I'm crossing a certain age don't really matter. So like I just ignore it, and my family is chill pretty much. So they have respected my timeline. Like they really want me to do what I want. They've let me do and let me be myself. Let me express myself the way I am. So I think like if they're not important in your life, then it's they don't what they say, don't say it doesn't really matter. So
I was
fine.
I was literally going to say, I feel like the one thing I'm hearing throughout this conversation is if you're a young girl listening to this podcast episode and probably have a very different setting at home, the one thing you can tell yourself is as long as they don't matter, they don't matter. They don't have a say in your life. You do you, as long as you have your parents that, you know, have your side and support you. Because really oftentimes we as women pay more attention to things we can't control than shit we can control. So let's just focus on shit we can control, which is our personal life and our bodies.
Yeah,
Love
for sure.
it.
And like for me, like my parents are like the only people I care about. Like me dating Jordan, there's definitely been like comments in the family, and I couldn't care less. Like my parents are the only people that I would like give a shit about.
Love that.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I have a question for both of you. If you could only pick 2 deal breakers for a guy, what are your top 2 deal breakers?
Go, Mehal. Don't think about it, just spill.
Okay, so deal breaker, it would be like if I sense a lot of narcissism, like, you know, if he's all about himself and he's not willing to like listen, like that is much narcissism on top first. And then if he's like a bad listener and if he bad breath.
That's a good one.
So yeah, so these 3 are on top for me right now. I can deal with
I
the
would-
rest.
I would say like someone like in a sense like who's not like woke. Like I know it's like I don't know, I don't think it's a lot to ask for you to be culturally aware and like understanding of what's going on around you. So being woke is a very big, also like if you're not, like learn, don't just shut it out.
I'm so glad you said
Yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah, like that's definitely a big thing for me. And another one I would say like not ambitious. I can't be with someone who's like lazy and just doesn't have a future, like doesn't care. Like you need to want to make me work and I need to want to make you work. But we, as in we lift each other up in a sense, not like force each, almost like we help each other grow. That's mine.
Love that.
I love that. Apoorva literally just texted me and was like, "This is your lingo. That's what comes out of your mouth." I was like, right.
Real deal breaker is if the guy, you know, isn't ambitious, then why am I in this date or relationship? So yeah. But I know we've thrown you under a bus a little bit, but we're gonna surprise you one last time with something that you guys probably didn't expect.
Surprise?
Which is, it's a bit of a rapid fire round. It's not gonna be coffee with current style, but you know, we're just gonna shoot our shot. And again, don't think about it, please. Quick shot, whatever, unapologetic answers. Okay.
Are we going like one by one or just at the same time?
One, like, so we'll ask one question to Pranali, we'll ask one question to Mehal, and then, right, Rhea, is that how it works? Is that how we're doing this?
Yes.
Okay, Pranali, intimacy or sex?
Intimacy.
Okay. Mehal, how important is a good body?
You want me to rate it on 10? Like,
yeah,
1 on 10. Scale of 1 to 10.
7.
Okay.
Pranali, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is a body?
7, I would say.
Okay.
Maybe 6.5.
Yeah, actually 6, maybe 6 or 5 also would do for me, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's like when I realized that it sounds a little, maybe I'm not that, I mean, like, with all due respect to people who have good bodies, like, huh? Like, I don't, it's a little superficial, right? It's still a little superficial to talk about. Yeah. So maybe 5 or 6 also would do for me. Yeah.
I feel like the whole, I feel like the whole rating is just dropping down as we speak about it.
I think you thought 7, but then you were like, "Oh, well, this makes me sound bad." But 7 is okay.
No, don't be. Yeah, own your shit, boo. You're good. You're good.
Your expectations should be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Pranali, this is a question to you. Can exes be friends?
Yes. It's controversial, but yes.
Okay. Mehal, how important is parents' approval of your relationship?
Depends on which stage I'm in the relationship in. So I know it's not a short answer for me, I'm sorry. But if it's a hard no from them, maybe I'll consider it, but then it's my decision. So
Okay.
Yeah. And this is a question to both of you. So maybe we can go Pranali and Mehal. But what are some things that a guy does that you find super attractive?
Someone who takes care of me while also taking care of himself. I love that. I love that someone who like you actually give a shit about how you look and how you like act around other people. Something that I also love is someone that like gasses me up when I'm not in the room and like talks well about me. And like I love that my friends can come and tell me like Jordan was so like nice. He said all these nice things about you. And then I guess in terms of like more like looksy things, I'm not gonna lie, I do like watching a guy work out at the gym.
Now we know what Pranali does when she goes to the gym.
they should smell well. Like if they are wearing a good perfume or a cologne or something, I think it really uplifts the whole personality. I think that's a big one of the most underrated things that people like don't talk about.
Mehal's going with like body odor, bad breath. Like we know what's Mehal's kink right now.
So like, and somebody who can like cook, I think that's a really like, that's a nice skill to have.
Yeah, love that.
I mean, I don't really have a type. Like, I think like, yeah, so I think I'll go with these two for now. Yeah.
What's your take on modern day arranged marriages, knowing that we come from a country where it's still very evident? So what's your take on it? And if it were ever to come to you in your lives, how do you think you would navigate through that process?
Wait, when you say modern day arranged marriages, do you mean like forced marriage or arranged?
No, I mean like modern day arranged marriages in the sense of like
more like you're introduced.
Yeah, and then you take care of the rest.
My opinion on that changed because at the start I was like, no, but now I don't think it's a bad thing because I think your parents will always have your best interest at heart. And if I had to have my mom pick me a guy, I'm pretty sure she would nail it. And I think like if someone's introducing you to someone, it's not a bad thing because it's the same thing as your friend introducing you to someone, right? It's
Love
like
that.
It's the same thing. So I think like I honestly, if I was single and I got to a point where I wanted like a companion, I would just have my mom find me someone because she'd do the dirty work and she could filter out the trash. Yeah.
Oh my, that's exactly my reason. Like I think I'm a big fan of this arranged marriage concept these days because it's easy, right? You don't really have to do the hard work. You don't really have to find somebody.
Yeah.
Your parents do all the grunt work. They find you somebody potential, and then you decide if you like him, you go ahead. If you don't, then it's still cool. Like
and he's more than likely gonna have a good like family, good job, good life. Yeah. So like,
why not?
So and it's not like anybody's forcing you, right? It's like a date itself. Like you're meeting them, and then if you like, I mean, it's a 50-50 thing. So you like them, or and they also have to like you back. So it's literally like that's how I think that's what dating apps are inspired from, right? Like that's
a win-win. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you cannot disappoint anybody from that thing. And yourself as well.
I kind of like them more because it like takes away of the whole part of like the family conversation, telling your parents, vetting their family. It like takes all of that away. It's like it's better than a dating app from that perspective too.
Yeah, I hate even calling it an arranged marriage after a certain point because it's like
that's why I asked you, because I think forced marriages are when I think that's the correct term for the other one, and I think arranged is like how it should be, like this.
Yeah, I mean Tinder is an arranged setup anyway, or like a dating app is. So yeah. Exactly. Oh my God, look at us rediscovering terminologies.
Love it.
All right, guys.
That's also us evolving. Like that's also us evolving in a way. Like if you would have asked me like 4 or 5 years back about arranged marriages, I would have been like, oh my God, like who even does arranged marriages? Arranged marriages for losers. So it's like, but that's now
us. I do think that people abroad still think of arranged marriages like forced.
Yeah. So I think like now I've grown up, I've evolved, I've become more accepting to other people's ideas. And I think that everybody should be given a chance, that like, we should not discount anything, whatever people say, without actually considering, like, like applying our logic and thinking, that like Pranali said, that our parents will always have our best interest at heart. So
love it.
What is one piece of advice you can offer to guys when they are getting into a relationship with girls or are going on dates with girls? What are some things that you find useful that, guys should know?
You should be a good listener. Okay. You should be patient. You should smell.
That's more than one thing.
Yeah. Okay. But
in general,
in general, yeah. And you should dress like you want to impress. I think that really counts.
I would say like that person has valued your time as much as you value, or like everyone values their time. So if you're going into this date, like just be present, listen to what they're saying, ask questions, and like don't waste anyone's time in that, like you don't know if this is going to head somewhere, then just break it off then. But if you've not been paying attention, you don't know, you've not had the time to build a connection, like like I think it's just like be present, if that makes sense. Like just be there, listen, like maybe a few compliments, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you said that, because I think one of my personal pet peeves too when I'm on dates is if the guy if he's just talking about himself and he's not asking questions. That's like a big red signal for me, which is just like, if I ever move forward with this guy, he is going to be someone who's self-obsessed or just self-absorbed, that he couldn't care less about what I do or bring to the table. So I'm really glad you said that.
And I do think you can really judge like a first date fairly well. And I think like if you haven't been paying attention, or if you don't know, or you've like not even asked her questions, and then you're like dragging her to a second date because you don't even know anything about her, like you've just wasted someone's time,
100%.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Well, with that, guys, we just wrapped up our episode. We are on episode 12. So thank you so much for having your time, giving us your time, and giving us a little bit of tea that we can share with our listeners. Is there anything else that you want to add to all the girls that are listening to this episode, and the guys, honestly?
I would say trust your gut. Dating is hard, but it's not that hard if you know what you want and you go after what you want. And I also think being single is underrated. It is amazing. And I don't think anyone should care about like what other people's lives and timelines are. Just do your thing.
Love that. Mihal, do you have anything to say?
I just keep it simple. I think people should take it easy. It will happen. Should not stress out too much about it. And just enjoy the present. Like if you're single, enjoy being single. If you're dating somebody, enjoy it. So don't worry too much about chasing the next step.
Love that, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us today. And to everyone listening, go have fun, go date, go explore beyond your nationality. If that's one thing we can pick up from today's episode too. Keep an open mind and have fun while you're at it. Thanks so much, everyone. Tune in every Wednesday to get you through your hump day. Thanks again, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe.